are the New York Knicks. I'm back, rocking in New York. Well, it's the Knicks. New York. We are the New York Knicks. New York. For this new season we're about to enter, the Knicks taking no shorts, it's like winter.
New York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is K-N-I-C-K-S.
Everybody say go New York, go New York, go!
Hey everybody, it's the New York Knicks podcast, episode 443, part of the Almighty Bowler Podcast Network and Dash Radio. I am Jay. How you doing, Mark?
I am here for best week ever.
You already calling?
Best. Well, it's the best week of the season by far. We won 3 out of 4 games. It's not going to get better than this. The Knicks this week played a very close game against Trailblazers. Lost. We were all like, "Oh, that's fine. That was fun. Whatever." Then they beat the Celtics, beat the Pelicans. I was at that game, and they beat the Grizzlies tonight. It is an awesome. It's not going to get better than this week.
All right, so Knicks peaked in November.
Well, you know I'm right, so...
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what's going to happen the rest of the season. I don't think the Knicks are suddenly a juggernaut, but this is a fun week, basically. And hopefully this is a sign of something. Jay, so are we going to spend about an hour of you apologizing to Moutier?
I'm not quite ready to go to a Moutier apology episode yet.
Really? Why not? Last episode, so I've been coming around. I've trashed him earlier also. I've been coming around him much sooner than you have. Last show, I was like, he's looking pretty good. And you're like, he's garbage. He erupted versus the Pelicans. He looked pretty good earlier in the week. Tonight, he looked great against the Grizzlies. Had a dunk that almost like that kind of didn't seal the game because it still was a little bit close at the end against the Grizzlies. But he had a mighty fine dunk towards the end of the game. He looked pretty good.
He did. He's looked really good. The Knicks have won 3 in a row. Every time I do an apology episode, that's pretty much the end of that player's career. So
his numbers against the Pelicans were ridiculous. 27 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. He doesn't seem to get the assists, but 4 steals. He looked pretty darn. I mean, I'm not ready to call Moutier our starter for the future, or I can't even tell if he's a starting point guard. I feel like Moutier, Burke, and Ntilikina are basically competing to see who's the best backup point guard for whoever the future point guard will be.
Yeah, it does look like that right now.
But Moutier is looking pretty good. Like he's playing well enough that you're not like. I mean, there's people out there saying, "Well, Ntilikina, we need to play Ntilikina. We need to play Ntilikina." Moutier's playing well enough that his coach is like, Ntilikina doesn't necessarily get all these minutes.
And that's fine. I like a coach that says whoever's playing the best gets the most minutes, because we've had coaches in the past who either look at the salary cap or look who has the most Twitter followers or who the crowd cheers the loudest for. It's how about Twitter, the players playing the best? People
go crazy. They keep talking about people keep questioning Fizdale on Twitter. Like, I mean, obviously people question everything on Twitter. But like saying like, Fizz doesn't know what he's doing. He's playing the wrong guys. He's doing this. He's doing that. Fizz has shown we have to all face it. If you're going on Twitter commenting about the Knicks, chances are Fizdale knows a billion times more about basketball than you do. Just because you watch the games, you don't know. We all have to concede the fact that Fizdale probably knows a ton about basketball. If he thinks certain guys deserve minutes, let's go with it. Basically, let's hope that our coach knows what he's doing and can figure out who's the best player from going forward.
Did you just invalidate our entire podcast?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
It is, though. We all comment on this crap, and it made sense with some other coaches where you really don't feel like they know what they're talking about. Or, I mean, obviously Jeff Hornacek knows a lot more about basketball than we do. At the same time, his coaching style did not seem to be working. Let's give a lot of faith in Fizz right now and see how it goes. Fizz seems like he has a ton of faith in Moutier. I think he's been saying for a while he thought Moutier was the best passer on the team. He's been saying he called the Pelican game his breakout game. He said that when Moutier dribbles the ball at the court, he told him to stop. Don't look over at me. You know what you're doing. Just run the offense.
Well, the Grizzlies game ended a few minutes ago, and Moutier did lead the team in assists. I mean, it was only 4, but he still led the team in assists.
He seems to just initiate the offense. But the big things here is how did he figure out how to finish at the rim?
He had a monster dunk at the end of the Grizzlies game.
That was huge. But he's generally that game in the Pelicans game, he had some kind of reverse layup. He's been getting to the rim and like just finishing at the rim. Last year and his whole career up to this point, he just got to the rim and just like you might as well just throwing the ball the other direction. He was never close, basically, at finishing, and now he's just like he's figured it out.
So we just got a tweet from Donsman that said Moutier has been playing pretty well, along with Trey Burke back in form. Even the most skeptic Knicks fans would have to start believing they are turning around.
Yeah, I mean, guys are looking pretty good. I mean, they're figuring out how to win some of these close games. By the way, if your fantasy team does not win rebounds for the week, you 26 rebounds of Cantor on your fantasy team. You have to win rebounds this week.
I am up by 44 rebounds, and the other team doesn't have any players left today. And I have two and a half quarters of a Gobert left.
You're probably going to win rebounds.
I need Gobert to get 5 points and 0 turnovers, and I win this week.
Not bad. And also not negative 20 rebounds. Or negative 40.
Negative 45 rebounds.
I don't know what a negative rebound would be, but usually the Knicks could, like, well, I guess he's a Jazz, so he probably doesn't do that. But the Knicks would probably do that. But I've been impressed with Moutier. I've been impressed with Burke. Let Ntilikina earn his minutes back.
Yeah. I mean, the way that Moutier and Burke have been playing lately, Frank is third. It's.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but if he's not playing as good as the other two guys, he shouldn't be playing over them. That's just the way a team should be run. So I'm fine with that.
I mean, Ntilikina got 13 minutes tonight, and that's concerning. And against the Pelicans, he got what against the Pelicans? He didn't seem like he played. He got 14 minutes. You want more minutes out of Ntilikina, but it's a long season. Let him earn the minutes back. Maybe if he earns the minutes back, he'll look better in the long run, as opposed to just throwing him out there for 35 minutes and just seeing how it goes. I mean, this starting lineup. What do you think about the starting lineup? Because you texted me right before the Celtics game. It was the Celtics game when they premiered this lineup, or was it the Trailblazer game?
It's the Trailblazer game.
Trailblazer. You texted me about this. You said you were talking about someone going to one of our fans actually who was going to the game.
Yeah, I met up with Alex before the game, and he was excited. He came from Ireland, and then I got home and I saw the announced starting lineup, and I was like, "Oh man, I feel so bad for this guy."
You come in from Ireland, and you see Cantor, Hezonja, Vonleh, Hardaway, and Moutier. You want to get back on the plane and just pretend you didn't come.
Yeah.
And this lineup is now 3-1.
Is it?
Which is kind of. I mean, was the Trailblazer game the first game they did it?
Oh, you know what? I just assumed that they gave up on Hezonja, but no, you're right. He started the rest of the week. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Hezonja they should give up. Hezonja, of all the people, what happened to Dotson? Why don't they play him anymore?
That's also a really good question. I don't know. The weird thing is, it seems like there's almost too many players that need minutes now.
I mean, Dotson could easily have Hezonja's minutes, and it would be fine. So what Fizdale said with this lineup was he felt like when the rookies were playing starting at least, like Mitchell Robinson in particular would get in foul trouble, it would interrupt the flow of the offense. And Knox also has a lot of foul issues. And he said interrupting the flow of the offense, I'd prefer to have some guys who are a little more veterans start the game, and then the rookies to come in a little bit later so they can kind of see how the game is going and maybe kind of adapt better as opposed to like immediately getting into foul trouble.
That's fair.
I know a lot of people have killed this lineup. I mean, they should. Like, defensively, it looks like a lineup that the Knicks should get crushed defensively. Yet the lineup's actually been pretty solid defensively, which is bizarre. Right?
I don't understand how it's happening.
Hezonja basically has been out there for his defense. His offense has been atrocious, but his defense hasn't been horrendous. I mean, every team should see Hezonja out there just go like, let's attack Hezonja. Maybe they can't decide which player they want to attack. They're like, Hezonja's there, Cantor, Moutier, Hart. I want to attack everyone.
Vonleh's been decent on defense, too.
I mean, Vonleh's been very good. I mean, Fizdale called Vonleh his most complete player right now.
Well, that would explain why the Knicks are 7-14.
I mean, but this is a crazy week. I mean, the Celtics are still a very good team, even though they're having a rough stretch. The Pelicans obviously are a very good team, even though they're having a little bit rough stress. Grizzlies had, I think, tied for the best record in the NBA going into this game.
Quick question for you.
Yeah.
What am I currently more worried about? Gordon Hayward or my cryptocurrency account?
He doesn't look that good.
Neither one of those are doing very well at all.
Oh my God, we can do an entire Brink podcast about how the dumbest purchase ever was us buying all buying cryptocurrency.
So
It's
far.
at some point I think cryptocurrency will hit the point where they'll call you up and go, "You owe us money,"
Yeah.
but it can go to zero. No, it's gone negative. You owe us $300, Jay. Hazonia, but beyond that, Vonleh's looked really good on defense. Timmy Hardaway, by the way, it's crazy that he has not been playing that well and the team has still been winning. Like in the
Yeah.
sense that like your best scorer has not been playing. He actually had a good stretch in the third quarter tonight, but he was terrible in the Pelicans game and didn't matter.
Yeah, beginning of the season, if Hardaway was having a bad game, it was just game over.
Okay, you want to go through these games real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with the Trailblazers game. Let's do our 3 questions, a little bit what we want to talk about in each game. The Trailblazer game was a pretty close game. Knicks blew it at the end, but it was a pretty exciting game.
I mean, this was like, if you're in the mood for tanking, this is the perfect game. It was fun to watch, came down to the wire, still ended up in a loss.
This was a game also. Vonleh missed some key free throws towards the end of the game. I think he missed like 4 free throws towards the end of the game, which those free throws are probably almost the difference in the game. I mean, the difference in the score obviously was 4 points, but like if he had made 2 of those shots, it could have been a different game. People killed Burke for not boxing out towards one of the last plays of the game. I found that kind of ridiculous how everyone killed Burke for not boxing out when the entire the Knicks haven't boxed out in a decade. Like, you can't just say, Burke, you didn't box out on that last play. They just don't box out ever.
Yeah.
If anything, you want to say, Fizdale, you want to tell everyone they should box out because you guys aren't doing it at all.
Yeah, that's fair. Burke's a small guy. He's not going to box many people out.
Yeah, I mean, who was the player who was supposed to have boxed out in that play? I forget. Was it Nurkic or I don't know who? I forget who it was.
It was somebody way bigger than him.
Yeah, it was someone way bigger. Where like, if he had his body on him, Burke still wouldn't have mattered. Like everyone was like, Burke didn't box out. The guy was like a foot taller than him. It really wouldn't have worked out either way.
Yeah.
This is a game. One of my comments was that Hardaway's still looking really good. He had 30 points in 3 straight games. It'll be interesting to see what he'll be like with KP. He still looked good, and then he stopped looking good after this game, I think. Actually, did he look good in the Celtics game? Not quite as good in the Celtics game.
I mean, Celtics game, he had 29 points.
Yeah, he looked pretty good in the
29, 6, and 11. I would say that's even better.
Yeah, well, Burke, the Celtics game was the emergence of Burke, right?
Yeah.
Burke went crazy in that game. My other point for this game was I was surprised Dotson wasn't playing, but my other point was they pulled the only weird thing they did in this game was Fizz pulled Burke with 4 minutes to go and Burke was on fire, and then pulled him for Moutier, and you were like, Burke was on fire. Why'd you pull him with 4 minutes to go in the game?
Yeah, that was interesting, unless he was just thinking defense.
Yeah, I mean Moutier, I don't think he's a good defender, but he's got the length.
Mm-hmm. He looks like he should be good on defense.
I mean, we always think that a guy, like, if you don't make it immediately, we write the guy off. Is there a chance that Moutier, like, we saw when he was in Denver, and he was not very good in Denver. Is there the chance that, like, in the second situation, he could be, like, end up being a pretty decent point guard?
It's possible. I mean, there's players that bloom a little later.
I mean, everyone talks about the example of Chauncey Billups, who, like, did not start his career off very well and ended up being one of the better point guards in the league.
I mean, LeVert was having a great season. He was almost a nothing his first 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, at the when Fizz was hired at his press conference, he said in reference to Moutier, "We're going to get you right." Like he obviously clearly he believes in him, and he's got to believe him for a reason.
Yeah,
he looks like he should be a point guard. I don't know. He looks like he should be like what we're looking for size wise. He still makes dumb plays, but so what's your take? If you had to put a percentage on it, what's the percentage chance that Moutier ends up being an NBA starting point guard?
We're not counting the fact that he's starting now.
Yeah. I mean, like,
because this is kind of just like default.
2 years from now, he's a starting point guard in the NBA.
I would say,
because 2 years from now, that's a long enough timeline that he would have had to really prove himself by then. And at that point, also like no team's going to take a flyer on him and have him as a starting point guard in 2 years now if he's not looking good.
Right. So he's only 22 now.
Yeah.
2 years. I would give him 20% chance.
Yeah, I mean that's as high as you're going to get.
It's way higher than I would have given you a month ago.
I mean, I think a month ago we would have said 0.00, as many zeros you can come up with 1%.
Yeah.
By the way, in the starting lineup, though, the thing about the starting lineup is, even though he's playing the quote-unquote vets and people are getting annoyed about the minutes the vets are playing, in theory, these are guys that he's trying to, like, Timmy Hardaway is part of our future right now. He's signed for 2 more years. Moutier is 22. Vonleh is, 22 also. Hezonja, in theory, is a guy we're hoping works out, even though he's probably not going to work out. And Cantor, we want out of the team. We want him off the team as fast as possible.
No.
I still don't love. I mean, the problem is that Mitchell Robinson can't stay on the goddamn court.
I mean, I'm a little biased just because Cantor is doing so well on my fantasy team.
He played pretty well against the Pelicans and played pretty well against the Grizzlies, so I'm not. Yeah,
I mean, he was doing a number on Gasol.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. You know what's interesting in the Grizzlies game when they talked about Marc Gasol, because Gasol is the reason that Fizz got fired from Memphis, right? And
yeah,
so you would think. I mean, he's not going to Gasol's not going to trash him. Gasol could easily have just said, because they interviewed them before the games and they were like building this up because it was like Fizdale's return to Memphis, and he could have just said, "Hey, we had our differences. It didn't work out." The one thing he said I thought was it's probably a true statement, is that things didn't work out, but I'm a better player for having played under Fizz.
He said that?
Yeah. He says, my game is definitely better because I played under him.
Wow.
I mean, it's true, though. He didn't start shooting threes until Fizdale, made him. And now he's lethal. He's pretty good from 3, and he's having a very good season right now.
Yeah.
He totally credited Fizdale. He did not have to do that.
I mean, so if the one player who didn't get along with him is saying good things, that's a very good sign.
It's a pretty good sign. I mean, everyone that seems to have played under him, especially with his assistant, obviously, everyone speaks super highly of him. I'm going to go with. I feel like we just need to trust to a certain extent of what Fizz is doing. I mean, you can see with a guy like Hezonja, even though I don't think he should be starting at this point, I'd rather give Dotson his minutes. It's a long season. You probably want to see what you have from Hezonja before giving him the Baker treatment. He gave Ron Baker a chance. Obviously, Ron Baker's not going to play anytime soon. But at least, before you give up on Hezonja, you probably should give him a chance.
He's getting his chance. I mean, he's not playing a ton of minutes, but he's starting. Oddly enough, he started the last 4 games, and the most minutes he's played in any game was 21.
I mean, they're 3-1 with Hezonja starting. So stats are deceiving, I guess.
And Hezonja barely sniffed the court in the second half in today's game where he played 21 minutes.
Well, he's also, obviously Fizz also is seeing what they do and he's not just giving you minutes for the sake of minutes. Hezonja's been out there in the first, and he's not looking that great, so I'm not going to bring him back out there in the second half. Yeah. Celtics game, this was the rise of Burke.
Yes, this was when Burke just went nuts.
So I have to say with Burke, I like Burke best when he decides he's not playing point guard.
I'd just say that in a game where he had 11 assists.
Yeah, but you know what? I feel like early in the season, Burke was trying to be more of a distributor and trying to defer to teammates, and he always looked the worst when he was doing that. When he puts his head, when he goes, I'm going to try to score, and and maybe secondarily, I'll try to set my teammates up. I think he always looks so much better.
Yeah, that's fair.
He has to go for his own offense and then set guys up as a secondary option. It's just that's his. I think that has to be his mindset. That has to be. I feel like Burke, his best role is your guy off the bench, which is maybe the best role of all our point guards right now.
Yeah, he's definitely a great 6th man candidate.
Yeah. My other points from this game. What do I have there? Can Robinson? I said if Robinson can limit his fouls, he'll be a force, and that was a theme the entire week.
That might be a theme running this entire season.
He had 6 blocks in the Celtics game and played 16 minutes. He just cannot stay on the court.
Yeah.
How much do you think, like, so him and Knox also have been, Knox has been getting a lot of fouls too. How much do you think their fouls are because they're rookies? In the sense of, like, obviously they're rookies making mistakes, but do you think the refs are harder on them than they are on players that are veterans?
I don't know if they're
Like,
harder on them. I think they just don't know, like, the little tricks, the ins and outs. I see things where, like Gasol will lock
Yeah,
his arm,
your
lock
arm up.
Robinson's arm or elbow, and he doesn't know how quite to sell it or to get out of that, or little tricks like that, like vet tricks that they haven't figured out yet.
I felt like the Memphis game in particular, like he got called for a couple fouls that were like, I mean, they were fouls, but they could have not called them also. And then the rest of the half, they were basically everyone was just fouling each other, and the refs just stopped calling fouls. And I was like, you have to call those on, like if you just call the game when Robinson, if you just called the game, you allow guys to like basically play tough. If you did that a little bit earlier, we could have still had Mitchell Robinson on the court.
Yeah, NBA reffing is super sketchy, but that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, it's a whole other question. The Celtics, Gordon Hayward does not look good. That was very helpful in the win against the Celtics. I don't know. The Celtics will turn this around, right?
Yeah, I'm very confident about that.
But they don't look that great so far.
No, I mean Tatum looks a lot worse. Obviously, Hayward looks pretty bad. Irving's gotten off to a really slow start. I mean, actually, pretty much everybody except Horford has looked worse than last year.
I mean, is the issue also like working Hayward in? Has that been an issue? Is that
Well, it's not that
Hayward's not playing that well?
You're working Hayward and Irving back pretty much.
Yeah, like it's almost like subtraction through addition in some ways here.
Well, then also with Tatum and Rozier, I think a lot of times you'll see a rookie like who was the guy who won Rookie of the Year like 3 years ago, and then he's pretty much out of the league now.
Oh, Kid Gilchrist?
No, the guy who's on Philly. Damn it!
It's not Kid Gilchrist?
No, it's Michael Carter Williams.
Oh no! It's similar, like hyphen name, right?
Isn't it Carter Williams?
Carter Williams, yeah, I knew it was a hyphen name.
Yeah, so a lot of times a rookie will have a good year because people are not expecting it or just underestimating, and then sophomore year they're on people's radars and then they're not nearly as effective, and I think you might be seeing that with the Celtics, a bunch of their players.
I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
If a Knick rookie put up these numbers, would you be excited? Like, would you say he has an NBA career? 17.5 points a game.
Yes.
Shooting 50% from the field. 7 rebounds, an assist a game, a block. Is that the guy that's destined to have an NBA career?
Absolutely.
That's Jahlil Okafor in his first year. You mentioned guys that are out of the league pretty fast thereafter.
What's Okafor's third year?
What did he do in his third year?
Yeah.
His third year, it was, I guess.
Was it all zeros?
It was in Brooklyn. Wait, no. He was on Philly's second year, and then third year was in Philly, and I got traded to Brooklyn. He barely played. He got 6.
And he's out of the NBA now, right?
No, he's on the Pelicans. They played him. He's playing 6.5 minutes a game.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, he's barely.
I didn't even notice him on the court.
He's 20. No, they didn't play him in the game against the Knicks.
Okay.
He's barely in the league right now. He's just like barely hanging on with like teams are like, well, he's still got some potential. He was a top pick, and I mean, just like that entire draft like is on he's the only guy on that top 10 from that draft who's not in the Knicks currently. So maybe he'll be on the Knicks soon. But it is funny how like guys, even if you have like those numbers Okafor put up in his rookie year on a bad Philly team, you were like, wow, those are pretty darn good numbers for him to like almost be out of the league.
Yeah.
But I guess stuff's deceiving also. But last show we were talking about guys to sign in the offseason, and we had that question that went through besides Kemba, Kyrie, like the bigger names, they went through some names that weren't as big, and both of us agreed that we would sign Terry Rozier, who against the Knicks had 16 minutes and 0 points. 0 assists, 1 rebound, 0 for 4. That's the guy we both said we'd sign and make him our point guard.
Well, let's 1 game sample size.
just calling ourselves out. Might as well call ourselves out. But anyhow, it was a great victory. Figured that was the last victory the Knicks would have all season. Then they played the Pelicans, which I went to that game. It was freaking awesome. The crowd went crazy. The great thing about this game also leading into is Timmy Hardaway and Trier. I'm sorry, Timmy Hardaway and Burke. Burke came off a huge game against the Celtics. Timmy has been our best player all season, offensively at the very least. And they both had crap games against the Pelicans, and the Knicks still won the game.
Yeah, it just shows that the Knicks are becoming a well-rounded team. A lot of people contributing. Yeah,
Trier, whatchamacallit, Moutier was pretty sweet. What do I have about this game? I wanted to do the apology episode. As I mentioned Robson's fouling. It was just a great game. I mean, the Knicks, it was also a game you didn't think the Knicks would actually pull this off, and obviously, clearly they did. So here's a question for you. Oh, also, just the Memphis game, by the way. The Knicks were getting, Memphis had 19 blocks against the Knicks. Do you think at some point you just stop driving to the basket?
I was thinking that in the middle of the fourth quarter. I'm like, can you just not go near Jaren Jackson?
He's blocking every goddamn shot. Just shoot from the outside. I'm like, don't we love mid-range twos? Long twos, go for the long twos. Just get the shot off.
I mean, Jackson had 7 blocks, and I think they didn't count 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, the Knicks could have just shot some more 3-pointers in that game. Just in the sense of, they're not the best 3-point shooting team, but it's probably a better chance than, just getting blocked at the rim.
Yeah.
So here's a question for you. So the Knicks, what is the offense going to look like? Well, what did the offense look like when KP was here, and what's it going to look like when KP gets back? What do you think? The offense last year, we were done with the mellow, ISO heavy mellow, and I think we both were criticizing KP a little bit. We loved KP early in the season; he was on fire, but then it kind of fell into the ISO KP mode, right?
Right.
Where he would try to basically post up, and because every team knew basically all the Knicks were doing was posting up, was he'd have trouble they would just basically work KP, for preventing him from getting to his spots, and he'd hoist up some bad shots. And the season was trying to getting away from us right before KP got injured.
I think the Knicks also had a coach that was scared to talk back to KP.
You mean the Knicks had an organization that was scared to talk with KP?
Yeah. I don't think Fizdale is going to shy away from telling KP to not take bad shots.
So do you think so when KP comes back, do you think KP immediately just starts posting up and going back to that mode, or do his shots come more in the flow of the offense?
I think it depends where the Knicks are at that point. If they're on an 8-game losing streak, he might say, I need to be a hero. I'm going to go into hero mode. If the Knicks are still playing even the way they are now, competitive basketball, he may be in a mode where he doesn't want to rock the boat and he wants to fit into the team.
Because I feel like the reason a guy like Timmy may not he has an off night, the Knicks can still pull it off, is that even Timmy tries to get his points to the flow of the offense, and then maybe the offense is going through Trier that night, or Burke, or someone else is on fire. We have a lot of guys that can score. The scoring hasn't really there's been no fall off in scoring since KP's been gone, right?
Right.
So maybe now that the team is learning how to win and play without KP, when he comes back, the team will be better for that. And KP does not have to feel like the offense is on my back now, because there are a bunch of guys here can score now.
Yeah, if he's looking and the Knicks are scoring 110 points a game.
You just watch the game. Timmy can score. Vonleh can shoot goddamn threes. Trier looks tough as nails. There are a bunch of guys that can play on this team. Obviously, Burke can light things up.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a big difference. I don't think we're going to, hopefully not, see a bunch of ISO. So,
what do you think this team, where this team is heading right now? Bring back KP. Let's say we strike out completely on free agency. What is the team looking like next year with the guy? If development continues in the way it's going right now?
Well, you figure you got another draft pick, probably not the top couple picks, but I would say a top 10 pick.
Yeah, that seems fair.
So you got that. You got the development of a couple guys. You got to figure one of our 3-point guards is going to at least be the backup point guard.
One of our three will end up being our go-to backup point guard.
I mean, like a solid, like, I'm happy he's our sixth man type of.
I mean, the point guard thing's not going to get better unless they draft a point guard. One of these three guys is our point guard next year. And unless they draft or sign Kemba or Kyrie, basically.
Right, but what if Moutier keeps getting just better and better, and he turns into that guy that Denver thought they were drafting?
No, that'd be amazing.
Well, then the team looks completely different.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of this. Like, if Moutier turns into the guy that you thought they were drafting, if Trier keeps developing and being a solid play, if Knox gets better, if Robinson can figure out how to not to foul 6 times the first 12 seconds of being on the court.
I mean, the Knicks could have 7 solid players for next year.
What drives me crazy also is you read on Twitter and Nick comment sections on Nick's blogs, like people talking about like how certain players don't deserve the minutes. Like, what are we giving minutes to say like Trey Burke, he won't be here next year, or like Moutier is not going to be here next year. I kind of hate how people are already like they assume they know better who's going to be part of the future. Like, you want to keep this core together. Anyone looks pretty good, you want to keep here going forward.
Yeah, I mean, look at the history of the Knicks. Like, if you're going to go on players who aren't going to be here next year, it's going to be pretty much everyone. I don't think we mentioned it last episode, but I was looking at the Knicks roster from 2016, and they had 8 guys on the roster who weren't even in the NBA the following year.
Wait, the following year?
Yeah.
2016?
Yeah.
Or now? Are you including like Carmelo's not in the NBA?
He's not.
Well, I know he's not in the NBA. Hang on. 2016 Knicks roster. You're saying 8 of the guys weren't in the NBA the following year?
Or now. Let's just say now.
Okay, let's just say
That's
now.
still only 2 years ago. Like, you know.
Well, let's just see how crazy this is. Not in the either. Let's see how many guys are either they're not in the NBA, and if they are in the NBA, they're barely hanging on.
Do you want me to read off the list?
What's up?
I was going to read off the list for you. Okay.
I have the list. Okay. Melo not in the NBA, or you can go read it off. Go for it.
Okay, so you have Brandon Jennings.
I think he's still in the NBA. I'm not sure. He might not be in the NBA anymore.
Let me look at it real quick. No, he's not in the NBA.
Okay.
Kuzminskis.
Not in the NBA.
Endower.
A lot of these guys are out of the NBA really fast. Endower not in the NBA.
Noah, currently not in the NBA.
Currently not in the NBA. May join Dallas soon.
Marshall Plumlee.
Pretty sure not in the NBA.
Chason Randall.
Not in the NBA.
Sasa Vujacic.
Should never have been in the
This
NBA.
is only from 2 years ago, and this was the roster.
And the rest of the guys, Lance Thomas, barely hanging on. Well, he might actually have a role going forward, but like a minor player at this point. Derrick Rose, kind of resurgence, kind of, we'll see. Kylo Quinn, not playing a ton of minutes for Indiana. Willie Hernan Gomez, the guy we were going to develop, not playing a lot of minutes in Charlotte right now.
No. I just found that pretty amazing. And if you go back one extra year, it's the same thing with all different players. Aflalo, Amundsen, Etienne Kouampo, the bad one.
I mean, that's the thing. You should look for good teams have continuity. And I understand if that was your team, you can't have continuity because it was just a garbage team. But you should want to develop players, develop team, have most of the same roster from year in, year out. And it looks like going to next year, most of the guys, I mean, we'll see what happens with the salary cap and like who gets re-signed, but we're going to have 7 or 8 of the same guys and add in like 2 draft picks. Most of the guys will be guys that are either from the year before or guys that we're drafting in that draft.
Yeah, I like that.
That's how you actually develop a team, as opposed to like let's find 9 guys who can play to add to our team every year.
The 2015-16 season was even worse with that.
Oh, well, was that the year they won 17 games, or no? That was 2014.
That was the year they went 32-50 actually. I don't know how with 8 guys who weren't in the NBA.
Well, the Knicks have every year, last couple of years, they've started off. They've had some like period of time when the Knicks haven't looked so bad, then they fall off a cliff. Like they've gone like 20-20, and then they fall off a cliff, or like they've had like decent starts to seasons and then fell off a cliff thereafter.
Yeah,
every year. But But it looks like this roster is different in the sense of like you have guys you really will want to keep here going forward.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if the point guard thing is like. Well, we have an interview. You want to do the interview we have with Nilik?
Sure.
With Nilik. Okay, so why don't you introduce it?
All right. So today I'm going to be interviewing Frank Ntilikina's offense. So
Hi, Jay.
thanks for joining
Hi,
us.
Jay. I'm Frank Nilikina's offense. It's nice to meet you.
You sound pretty confident.
I am very confident. I can do a lot of things on offense.
But how come you only show up like once a game?
Once a game, I look really good. I drive to the basket. People are amazed at the move I do. But that's a lot of work. I get tired. I like to go stand in the corner during offense most of the time.
Yeah, I think you should not stand in the corner.
Have you seen my defense? My defense is amazing.
Yeah, no, your defense is great, but
I like to save energy for defense. Carmelo Anthony saved energy for offense. I do the opposite.
Okay, but that's not getting you a lot of minutes.
I'm the point guard of the future. I should play 35 minutes a night. If you play me 35 minutes, I promise to do 2 things a night that look okay.
2? Wow, that's very underwhelming.
I shoot some 3-pointers if everyone else keeps passing it back to me, and I'm really open.
Yeah, the thing is, a lot of those 3-pointers don't go in.
Well,
I mean,
now you're just hurting my feelings.
I'm glad you're shooting them, but yeah, I don't know, maybe work on that.
Do you think I need to do more things on offense?
Yeah, I think you need to get a lot busier.
Oh, I thought my one move of the game was enough to get me a highlight, and that's all we play for.
Yeah, shooting 26% from the 3 is not really... I do love your consistency. Effective field goal percentage of 41 2 years in a row.
If you don't count my 0 for 15 stretch from 3, I'm shooting a pretty good percentage.
That's true. If you don't count the misses, it is much better.
I look a lot better when you don't count the misses.
You know what? I just I crunched some numbers. If I don't count any of your misses, you're shooting 100%.
That's pretty good, don't you think?
Yeah, that's a good percentage.
I better get going on offense a little more often to play, don't I? Need to do that. I didn't expect Moutier and Burke to look good. I thought they'd already waved the white flag.
Well, I'll end on something positive. Keep up the free throw percentage.
Yes.
92 is good.
Yes. I can play defense, so I'm the offense though. So
yeah,
I don't really...
you got to do both.
That's a lot to ask.
It is, but you got to do it. All right, go away.
It is. What do you think? Ntilikina, like, is he going to be a point guard going forward? I mean, that's why he's such it's a hard thing to figure out.
It is. He can shoot. Obviously, you don't shoot 90. He's shooting 92.9% for the free throw line. That's really, really, really good. So
every game though, he does this thing where like he makes 1 or 2 drives to the basket and he looks really good, and you're like, why aren't you doing this stuff? Or he'll have a streak where he'll hit a couple threes. You're like, why can't you do this stuff like in any realm of consistency?
It could be a confidence thing.
I feel like maybe it's just like him trying to like really find his place, and he just, I don't know, confidence or hesitancy, or doesn't. I guess maybe it's a confidence thing. I don't know. Do you think, like, you think a couple years? What is the percentage chance that he is a starting point guard? Ntilikina is a starting point guard 2 or 3 years from now. 3 years from now. Like, I guess you said 20% for Moutier. What's the chance that Ntilikina is a starting point guard 3 years from now?
25%.
Okay, so you have a little more faith in him, which also, bigger sample size. In theory, I would go with giving Ntilikina the edge also over Moutier. Moutier's basically been okay for like 2 weeks now at most.
Right. Moutier had 3 complete years of pretty much garbage.
Yeah, no. I mean, like, it's in theory, like, well, I mean, people that don't acknowledge Ntilikina's defense will say he has had a year plus of garbage also.
Right, which he hasn't. It's just, especially with the new rules in today's NBA and at his position, you need to have offense.
you need to like it's a two thing. You cannot like a point guard has to have offense. His defense, you could have lackluster defense from a point guard. You can't have lack of offense. Just like a center, I feel like the Kansas situation, you have to have defense from a center. You could have a lack of offense. You can't have a lack of defense from your center.
Yeah.
And then Burke, what are the chances that he can score and he can get some assists? What are the chances he's a starting point guard 3 years from now?
I'm going to split the difference, 22.5.
Really? So you put him ahead of Moutier?
Yeah.
I'm going to go. So I'm totally fine with your percentages for Moutier and for Ntilikina. I'm going to go 0% on Burke being a starting point guard going forward, like
Wow.
3 years from now.
I feel like right now he's got the best offense out of the three, and his defense is, at the same level as Moutier, maybe even slightly better.
I mean, it's a size thing. I think his size is going to prevent him from being a starting point guard. I think it's going to be really hard to start a 6 foot, a 5'10" point guard in this league. Like, no matter how good he's on offense, like he's also not necessarily a pass first because he's not a pass first point. Like he's not the best passer in the world. Combination of everything, I feel like he's more of a shooting guard than he really is a point guard.
Muggsy Bogues and Earl Boykins both had great careers.
That is true. Those are true, but they played in a different NBA though. Different time. Maybe you didn't need quite as much from your point guards. And they were also Muggsy Bogues probably was a lot better player than at least Burke is right now.
Probably.
I remember watching Muggsy Bogues being like the whole time you watch him is like going, how is he that short? Even though he's not that you're not even that much taller than him. But he's like he looks so short. It's almost like watching a freak show watching.
No, Muggsy Bogues was 5'3". That's really short.
Oh yeah, he's really short. Yeah, he was really short. It was amazing when he played. Like it was just he was one of the most fun players to watch in like NBA history just because of his size.
Yeah.
But okay. Do you want to do some questions, Jay?
Sure. Jorge writes, if the Cavs land Zion, does it 100% confirm the NBA is rigged?
By the way, you know who else is on fire lately?
Hmm.
The Cavs. They won 2 games this week.
Good for them.
Yeah,
No, really, that is good for them because
yeah.
I don't want them to get the number 1 pick again.
I don't know how they did today, but they beat the Celtics and the Rockets. I'd have to double check that. But by the way, Tankathon, do you want to know where the Knicks are right now?
Sure.
The Knicks are now 5th place with 7 wins. So they're not exactly like Cleveland's up to 4 wins, so they're not exactly but they won 2 in a row. So maybe they're on a stretch. Anyway, if the Cavs get Zion, the NBA should admit it's all fixed.
Yeah, that would be ridiculous.
I mean, the odds of you getting 3 number 1 picks in 4 years is insane enough. And then they all go around. Then you get another number 1 pick, and it all goes around like LeBron coming and leaving your team.
I know.
I mean, the NBA, they should rig it so Cleveland picks 4th just because it doesn't look good from the pick in the top 3.
It really wouldn't.
It's a bad look. I mean, there has to be like, do you think there's a chance in hell that Cleveland really got those three of those three number 1 picks? Like that had to have been rigged.
I mean, there's a slight chance, but it looks very sketchy.
Also, out of that, they really didn't get that much out of those 3 picks. They got Kyrie. I guess they got Wiggins, and they got Anthony Bennett.
Not a great haul.
Not great, but I guess they converted.
They got a championship out of it.
They got the 4 finals. It worked. They got those 3 picks. Got them LeBron James to come back.
Yeah.
Apparently, that's what it took for the NBA to convince LeBron James to go back to Cleveland. We'll give them 3 number 1 picks. Okay, fine. 3 number 1s. Now you have to go back to Cleveland. Okay, what else you got?
We have an email from V who writes, I know he's very young and he needs time, but Ntilikina just doesn't look like he has it in him to be a future starter. I see no aggression in him. You think Dallas is still keen on him? Dennis Smith Jr. in the Garden would be something special. If not Dallas, what team do you see willing to take on Frank, and who could we get back? Love the pod. Thanks, V. So Smith is not liked at all by Mavericks fans.
No, they. Especially with the emergence of Doncic, they kind of want to get rid of Dennis Smith. I mean, I think they would gladly trade Dennis Smith for Frank Ntilikina right now.
Yeah, which should raise a bunch of red flags.
But there's some Knicks fans, obviously. One of them just. But the question that probably would be the exact same trade.
I got to say, on Knicks Twitter, the pitchforks have come out for Frank.
Yeah, they really, really. I mean, at some point, people say, "Well, what's going on here?" I just think Frank's going to be a really, really slow build. I think some guys get it in their second year. I think Frank might get it in his fifth or sixth year. He still seems too talented to not be a pretty darn good NBA player, but it's just going to be a while.
Yeah, and there is something to be said for being a defensive specialist. It's just like we said before, he needs to provide something on offense.
It's also like everyone gives so much of where you were picked. Like if Ntilikina was our undrafted free agent and Trier was our number 9 pick, like people would be like, okay, Trier's looking pretty good. We're happy with the number 9 pick being Trier, and wow, we got Frank Ntilikina as an undrafted free agent. That's awesome.
True.
I mean, but obviously, it's a fair point to expect more from a guy that's picked like with your first pick, also.
Yeah, if you have a top 10 pick, you kind of hope he at least is a solid starter.
Yeah, you'd want to start, and Ntilikina just seems like. Do you think Ntilikina? I guess we just said it, 25%. I don't see him starting in any other position, right?
I mean, he could start at the 1 or 2, I would guess.
I mean, 3 years from now, what are the percent? You said 25% for him to be our point guard in 3 years. 3 years from now, what a percent chance he starts at any other position?
Same.
Okay. I'm much lower on that. I just can't see a team starting him at as their shooting guard because you can't. Unless the scoring takes off, and I even think at the 3, like his scoring is not there. He's more either he's a starting point guard or he's a very solid guy off the bench that provides a lot of defense for you.
Well, I mean, there's roles for like Andre Roberson, who's pretty much doing the same thing.
That's true. I mean, I guess if his defense develops, if his 3-point shooting develops, then like he has more of a role at the 3.
I mean, I would argue Frank might even be better on offense than Roberson already.
Really? Is Roberson that bad on offense?
He cannot. Yeah.
They
were playing Hacker Roberson in the playoffs.
What's his numbers this year? How's he doing this year? Or is he playing yet?
No, he's not playing yet.
I was looking at his career. Yeah, he's pretty awful. You're right. In the right situation, he'd be like, I guess everyone in the right situation. You put Ntilikina on Golden State, they might start him.
Yeah. I mean, Roberson last year shot 31% from the free throw line, starting at the 2.
And yet, when he was injured, that was like what really took down their season.
Yeah. So, I mean, there is a role for somebody who... Frank's shooting 91%, so...
I would say at this point, though, I am 99%, 100% in that at the end of his contract, his rookie contract, the Knicks should re-up Frank. I think they would be insane to let him go.
Yeah.
But I kind of say that about all the rookies they have now. But I think Frank he'll be a valuable player. It's just a matter of how he how he works it in. What's next?
That's it for emails. So thank you, V. And I would say no to Dennis Smith Jr.
Yeah. I mean,
he put up a lot of empty stats on a bad team last year, and his defense is beyond awful, and his offense is. It's just a lot of points, but it takes a lot of shots.
I mean, as far as Dennis Smith Jr., I mean, I'd rather just play Moutier and play Burke. I don't see Dennis Smith being better than those guys.
No. I mean, Dennis Smith is shooting 65% from the free throw line, 46% from the field. Not bad from the 3-point line, 39%, but it's...
I mean, I haven't had a chance to really watch him outside of when he plays the Knicks, but like the way Dallas fans talk, like it doesn't sound like there's anything there.
Yeah. I mean, those aren't great numbers, and then when you combine the fact that he just can't defend anybody, it's not a good combo.
Okay, Tristan writes, Facebook. Actually, we have a Facebook question from last week. Don't want to miss. This is from last week. We missed it last week. This is from Jonathan writes. What do you guys think about Ntilikina's year so far? He doesn't shoot the ball well. He doesn't rebound. He doesn't create plays for another. Yeah, the pitchforks have come out. He doesn't make plays for others. Only 3 assists per game. He just plays D in a team who doesn't. I'm not seeing any progress at all besides a good game here and there. Thoughts?
I'm seeing a theme with these questions.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll have to do an apology episode for Ntilikina very soon. But it's not. It's been rough.
I look forward to a Frank apology episode.
Yeah, me too. I really hope he makes us apologize because it's And I think he will. Tristan writes, best and worst Knicks jerseys.
Are we talking all time or?
I don't know. Tristan's not here, so I can't really ask him. Jay, just interpret it however you want.
Okay, worst is a J.R. Smith.
just J.R. Smith's jersey.
Yeah, that's the worst.
What do you? Because the other guys wore the same jersey.
Any jersey with J.R. Smith's name on it is the worst Knicks jersey.
I was gonna go with the home jerseys being the best and the road jerseys being the worst because the Knicks seem to be garbage the road the last couple of years.
I like the home jerseys from the mid '90s.
Yeah, I hate all the different. I hate all the special jerseys, like the ones they debuted the other night, where it was like what was it for firefighters? I forget what I hate all the different, like, we need to sell more jerseys. We have these special jerseys.
I have an orange Porzingis jersey.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Oh, okay. I mean, I don't like that jersey, but I like Porzingis.
But yeah, worst is anyone with J.R. Smith's name. Oh, where are they now? J.R. Smith not on an NBA team.
Did they cut him?
They told him to stay. They didn't cut him, but they told him to not play basketball with them anymore.
So he has more of an NBA job than Joakim Noah and Carmelo Anthony.
Right, but same amount of productivity.
Yeah, but at least he's employed by an NBA team right now.
I mean, good luck trading that contract.
So is Noah going to go to? They said Dallas.
I think they said Memphis.
Oh, Memphis. Why?
That is a great question.
They're meeting. According to one day ago, they're meeting to finalize deal. What's the like? Noah should just be like, yeah, whatever you put in the contract sounds good. Like, we don't need to meet. I'll just tell me when to show up. Like, there's nothing I need to negotiate here. Carlo writes, where should Melo go? Should he retire as a Knick? So I guess first part, where should he go?
He should go to not the Knicks, which automatically answers the second part of that question.
I think here's where I'd like to see him go. This is the ultimate team I'd like him to go to. He's never going to go here, but I'd like just to see this happen. I'd like to see him go to Golden State. Not because he'd get a title there, because he'd be the final knife in the fork of their he'd be the end of their dynasty. He'd get there, and Durant would be like, okay, I really am leaving now.
Have you seen how good Houston looks since he left?
They look really good.
Even Eric Gordon, who was destroying my fantasy team, has started looking amazing.
That's why you really need Melo to go to Golden State. He needs to take down their dynasty. Make the NBA more fun. Take down Golden State. Everyone's trying to beat them with another team. Beat them internally.
Eric
He
Gordon
can go there. He can talk to Draymond Green. Go like, Green, like, you're right. Just like, don't let Durant do this to you. Like, push him around.
Exactly.
Melo goes there, and Clay, Durant both leave. They're forced to trade Green, and it's just Steph Curry by himself. Should he retire as a Knick?
I would like to see him go to LA and just piss LeBron off.
Yeah. LeBron cuts him like a day after, like 2 days later. Do you think? Does it make more sense for him to retire from his standpoint? Does he retire as a Knick? I think from his standpoint, he'd probably retire. His years in the Knicks were so bad, though. Like, not even just like his playing. It was just like the Knicks were so terrible. If anything, you feel like him retiring as a Nugget just makes more sense.
Here's where 20 people say only series playoff win in 20 years, blah, blah, blah.
Here's what?
Only playoff series win in the last 20 years was with Melo leading the team. That's what people are going to say.
And that's why he's going to retire as a Knick?
No, that's, when you say his Knicks years weren't good, that's what I've heard as the counter argument. What I would say to that is they also had 3 of their worst seasons in franchise history.
Well, that might also coincide with hiring Phil Jackson. In fairness to Melo, in fairness to the whole argument, if the Knicks never made the Melo trade, probably about the exact same amount of wins in that time period.
Maybe. There would have been a lot more financial flexibility, so it's hard to tell.
Yeah, but in fairness to Melo, Phil Jackson kind of, like, Melo would have had a lot more success as a Knick if Phil Jackson never came here.
Probably.
Like,
I mean, Phil.
I mean,
Phil made so many. I don't even want to go down
tank the
this again.
organization. Yeah. Josh writes, is Moutier finally an NBA player? So here's a question for you, Jay. We asked about whether he's a starter. 10 years from now, percentage chance that Moutier is in the league.
10. So you're saying he'd have to have at least a 13-year career.
13-year career, and all I'm asking for is in the NBA. All I'm asking for is as employed as J.R. Smith is.
I'd give that a 20% chance.
So there's a 25% chance he's a... Oh, you said 20% chance for a starting point guard also? So
Yeah,
he's
but
not a starter in the
said
next 3 years? He's out of the NBA?
I mean, there's a lot of players who start for a couple of years and then are out of the NBA. I mean, you're talking like 10 years down the road.
I'm going to give him like a... Yeah, I mean, you're right. At the end of the day, also, he needs to like... I'm basing everything off these 2-week sample size of him looking better. You're right. 20% probably makes sense.
I mean, Landry Fields started 81 straight games for the Knicks, and it was out of the league 3 years later.
Are you just like telling horror stories from Knicks past? Like, it's unbelievable the guys that have played that. Since we've done the show, it's amazing the guys that we've given so many minutes to over the years. Like Landry Fields, at least Toronto fell for signing him.
Well, they tried to get us to overpay, and then the Knicks said, "Nah, you could keep it."
So the Knicks said, "Holy crap! You gave Landry Fields $21 million to not play in the NBA."
Yeah. Well, one day we should see how many players played on the Knicks since we started this podcast.
Well, I'm going to go for these. That's a.
I mean, it's got to be what?
Over
200?
No, 200 sounds like a really high. Yeah, maybe actually.
I mean, the roster almost completely turns over every season, and we've been doing this for 10 years.
That's why everyone should stop talking about trading Burke or Moutier or anyone for assets. Keep guys here.
I mean, 100 easy, but probably like closer to
Bond
150.
let's keep him here. Like, get some continuity. We need that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so same question. The 10 years from now, Trey Burke being in the NBA.
I would say 12%.
Okay, so you don't have a lot of faith in me. You have more faith in him again being a starter, but like you feel like he's out of his game's going to burn out.
It's again. I think these guys are going to have, maybe get better in the next couple of years, but then flame out. Yeah,
Burke seems like a guy also that would. Well, then again, he's already playing as a role player, so he's like already comfortable with that. But okay, and then Ntilikina 10 years from now, I think I'd give him the highest percentage for being in the league 10 years from now.
Yeah, I'd say 25%.
Yeah. It's hard. I guess 10 years is probably too long of a timeline.
It's a long time. I mean, the average NBA career is like, 6 or 7 years?
Okay,
Not even.
so of the three, who's the most likely to be out of the NBA first?
Burke.
Yeah. I guess I would have said Moutier, actually. I don't know.
I think Moutier had too much hype, and players that have that much hype usually get way more chances than they deserve.
I mean, but so speaking of guys that are getting a second chance here, like Hezonja is getting obviously a second chance here, and he's not looking that good in the Knicks' second chance, and he probably will. Chance of him being on the Knicks next year seem pretty slim, right?
Yes.
What are the chances he's going to be in the NBA 3 years? Like, I feel like he is. Once you get your second chance and it doesn't work out, you don't have that many days left.
He will get a third chance, but that might be it.
Yeah, I mean, like Okafor, I guess, is now on his. He came Philly, then Brooklyn, and now the Pelicans. I guess he's on his third chance and barely hanging on.
And he might be done.
Right. Hezonja probably get one more chance, and then like. Then again, Michael Beasley had 37 chances, and just like he changes teams every year, and everyone's like, "I'll give him another chance."
Yeah, but he always has that streak where he rips off like 4 straight 20-point games.
Yeah,
Okafor's not doing that.
You're right. He is also barely hanging on in LA. They're not exactly playing him.
I mean, you could always talk yourself into our ninth guy can potentially put up a bunch of points when our top 2 guys are injured for a night.
Right. I guess the argument saying, like, if our 15th guy is Michael Beasley, how bad we can be. Because every once in a while, like, we have injuries, he can help win us a game or two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sean writes, What have I missed since opening day 2017? Where's Melo? Where's Hornacek? Where's KP? Where's Phil? Someone get Trump on the goddamn phone. We need answers. Okay.
Yeah, everyone's gone.
Melo, not in the NBA. Hornacek, not in the NBA. KP, hopefully coming back. Where's Phil? Do you think Phil looks back on the Knicks? Like, do you think he like goes like, "Hey, it's probably my fault"? Like, does he take the blame, or does he say like, "Hey, if the Knicks had listened to me, things would have worked out fine"?
Knowing Phil, he's still thinking that he was on to something and they just didn't see his plan through.
If they'd only bought into the triangle, everything would have worked out.
Yeah.
I
think he's completely delusional based on some of his quotes.
Yeah. Tristan writes, will the Knicks make a three-game winning streak, which they did. That was asked before that, before the game. Which also, I think we both would have bet against the winning against Memphis, right?
I probably would have bet against all three of them, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we did last week, but if we had done the week of 4 games and we predicted, I think we might have gone 1-3 at best.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have been able to figure out which game they would have won.
Yeah.
Anton writes, you were totally right about foul calls. Seems likely like they miss a bunch for the Knicks every game. Mike Breen has been saying it more and more. Yeah, I feel like they even said that tonight. Then they were like the uneven foul calls.
Yeah.
I mean, the Knicks also have a young team, so maybe that also part of like the young guys just don't get the benefit of the doubt.
Oh, that's definitely true. I know the NBA says there's no star calls, but that's a complete lie.
I mean, it's a complete lie. Like Anthony. By the way, we didn't mention the Pelican game. Anthony Davis did miss a good chunk of the game. Actually, not even that good of a chunk. He missed like a solid like. He played 32 minutes, but he missed like a decent chunk of the game, which was kind of helpful.
Yeah.
But I was just saying, Anthony Davis does things. I'm like, that's a foul. Oh, I forgot he's a star.
Yeah. It's so crazy that the NBA does that.
Yeah, there's so many plays where, like, I mean, the last time they played the Pelicans, he just jumped over a guy and dunked on him, and they were like fouling the guy for just standing there getting dunked on.
Yeah.
Rafi writes, what's the best position for Frank? That's a question.
It's so hard because he doesn't seem to be distributing the ball like a point guard, but he's not shooting like a shooting guard. Hope he grows another 2 inches in the offseason and play the 3.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you're right about that. That's why the organization's having trouble with this. Like, maybe the 3 would make more sense. If he's tall enough to play the 3. He can play the 3 in the NBA.
Yeah, he'd probably need to bulk up a little bit, but yeah.
I mean, his defense is there where I think he can cover threes. Like, he obviously could bulk up would be helpful. But Rafi also writes, when will Dotson start again? Let's start off with when will Dotson play again?
I think it's going to take an injury.
Really? Because I think Hazonia is like looking like an injury. I have to think Dotson's going to get back in this lineup pretty soon. I don't know about starting again, but he's got it. It's weird that he's like he didn't look. He had it right before he stopped playing. He had a couple games where he didn't look that great, but he still looked overall like a very decent two-way player. What happened?
It's got to be something that we're not seeing, something in practice.
I mean, obviously Hornacek didn't play him either. Like, what does he do?
I mean, just going by what I've seen on the court, I don't see any reason not to.
Yeah.
So it's got to be something that we're not seeing. Some behind-the-scenes thing.
Or maybe, I guess, like, I mean, maybe in fairness, Fizz just says, like, I have to give Hazonia a shot here, and it's not going to work. I can't balance minutes. I'm going to take Dotson out for a few games and bring him back in.
Could be. I mean, he took Burke out for a few games, and now Burke's doing fine, so I wouldn't sweat it too much.
Yeah, I do think he's the better player versus Hazonia. I mean, they've won 3 games without him, so, like, I guess Fizz probably knows better than we do.
Yeah.
This is called the Fizz Knows Better Than We Do podcast. John writes, is it just me, or is Frank looking more like Andre Robertson rather than our point guard of the future? He would still be an important piece of every championship team. Every championship team needs that type of player. but it would be a little disappointing. So if he turns out to Andre Roberson, are we all disappointed?
No, I mean, the Thunder look way better when Roberson plays.
And he's a starter.
Yeah.
He's just not the guy you thought you were drafting.
Exactly.
I mean, but also, outside of Donovan Mitchell, the guys we were thinking of, like, I'd still rather have him over Dennis Smith. I'd still rather have him over Malik Monk. Who else was there? Anyone else that they were like thinking about?
Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, well, obviously Donovan Mitchell I'd rather have. Okay, John writes. Mitchell's not having the greatest year this year, by the way.
He's definitely he's definitely in the sophomore slump crew.
But I'd still obviously rather have Donovan Mitchell. John writes. Bill writes. Since Timmy is not our guy and demonstrated that on Friday night, how can we potentially get rid of him from our team? I doubt he would be willing to play off the bench like Melo, and look what happened to him.
So would you want to trade Timmy?
You know my answer is no. I think it's crazy to I think it's crazy to try to get rid of all these players. I think continuity matters. I know he's being paid a lot. I know he's been off the last couple games, but I feel like he's worth his money. $17 million for Timmy is what he basically what he puts up. Basically, he's scoring. He's just been off the last couple games. Yeah, he had 20 points tonight. You need him basically. I think he'll look also better with KP back.
He'd probably look better with KP and with a traditional point guard.
Yes, I think it would be hard to get a guy. First of all, Timmy, I think other teams would take Timmy. I think he's a very decent player. He can score. He's also he's still young. I like a lot what he does. I think he's a solid passer. He's taking charges is underrated. His defense isn't as bad as Cantor's defense. I think we were all just pissed off that that whole thing of him being the best worst player on the team. You want him to be better because he's our best player. He's just not. He's not an all-star.
Right.
Though I think one of my takes from this year, the crazy takes that he'll be an all-star.
Yeah, that was. I don't think so. Now, especially, I think Jimmy Butler probably just took his spot.
Yeah. At the same time, so you've been down on him since day one.
Mm-hmm.
Would you want to trade him?
I wouldn't be upset if they did. I don't think it's a necessity, but I wouldn't be upset.
Okay. What do you think you could get for him?
I think his value is pretty high right now.
Yeah.
I think you can get a pretty decent player, I would think, or maybe a good draft pick. One or the other. I don't think you get both, but I think you get one or the other.
Yeah, I still if we're going to sign a big free agent, which is a good idea, I'd rather just sign one guy and bring him to the mix.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a point I heard a point brought up on another podcast, was the idea that, let's say you sign Durant. That's great, obviously, right? But you go from a team that's developing to now you're in win now mode. What do you do with all the young guys? Do you still keep developing these young guys, or you start just trading them for better veterans, basically? And go right to win now. Let's get a bunch of veterans and see what we can do.
No. That never works.
Yeah, I know, but that will be if you bring Durant in your year one, you're in win now mode, right?
Yeah, but I there's the different. Yeah, I guess win now. Well, are you really in win now mode with this roster if you add one vet though?
If you add Kevin Durant, you're in win now mode. I'm not saying if you had Kemba Walker, maybe you could say we're going to develop anyone else, but Kevin Durant, you're bringing him here because you want to be. Durant wants to be in win now mode. Well, I guess if he signs with the Knicks, he probably doesn't. But I just feel like you sign Durant, you're trying to shorten the timeline real fast.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Durant, you have KP. And I also don't think Durant's coming here. I think there's a better chance that Moutier, Burke, and Ntilikina all join hands at their Hall of Fame induction ceremony than Durant being here next year. But at the same time, you bring him in My concern. I don't think they're getting Durant, but I worry if they sign some other name who they think is pretty good, and they suddenly start stop developing players, just going now we have to go to shortcut mode.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a nightmare scenario.
And let's say you bring Durant here, and you start going okay, let's see if we can turn Ntilikina and Knox into a decent starting, some veterans.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think that that's going to be the reflex to do that? Trade all our assets?
I mean, if somebody like Durant comes, yes. I think they completely scrap the rebuilding process.
Which seems justified if Durant comes here. It's just a little scary. Because I do like where they're going right now.
It's fine to me if you get Kevin Durant. But my fear is that they get one of the lower level guys and still think like that.
Yeah, I think that would be the bigger. Let's say you get Kemba.
Right. If they want to blow it up for a guy like Kemba, now I'm no, you're insane.
At Kemba, you might want to just keep rebuilding where Kemba has to be on board with building. Kyrie, what if you get Kyrie?
No.
You don't blow pretty much no one else in this list you blow it up for.
Right, exactly. I don't trust Kyrie at all.
The Knicks just beat him, 1 game sample size, but apparently Kyrie on the Celtics can't beat the Knicks.
I mean, before we blow up the team for Kyrie, can we see him play one healthy season?
I think it's coming up, actually. I think someone asked, David wrote, Kemba looking like a better free agent than Kyrie? Who would you rather get next year, Kyrie or Kemba? Kemba's having an awesome year.
He is.
He's a better defender.
He is. He's 2 years older, but he's still only 28.
Yeah.
I would rather Kemba than Kyrie. Kemba's healthier on a consistent basis. He's better defensively. Probably not much, but a little bit.
He's better defensively, yeah.
And I think he's just better.
Yeah, I feel, but he hasn't. The only thing against him is that he has not had a lot of success in the NBA. He's not exactly he's not leading a playoff team deep into the playoffs. And he's not been Mr. Big Shot in the game. Where Kyrie obviously hey, he hit the big shot against Golden State. He has some history of doing that.
Those are valid points, but he has had absolutely garbage teammates.
Offensively, I mean, yeah, I would. At this point, the argument for Kemba seems a little bit stronger.
I mean, last year, his second best player was either Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Batum, or Dwight Howard. Pick your poison.
That's a lot of poison you got to go in there.
Yeah. Not exactly killer's row right
there. What was it? I don't think this was a real comment. I just saw this somewhere on Twitter that someone said after the Celtics game, they said Kyrie, "Happy Thanksgiving," and he goes, "I don't celebrate that."
Yeah,
I don't know if he said that or not. It was one of those things. I'm like, he could have said that. He does seem a little off. So, okay. Bill writes, I feel like Fizdale is slowly taking on Jeff Hornacek's habit of playing too crappy and entitled players more, Timmy and Cantor, by the way, Bill does not seem like Timmy, and their young counterparts less, Frank and Knox. When this is clearly a rebuild year, these wins here and there with vets do nothing for us in the long term. What do you think about that? So most of the roster is young guys, but our fear was giving too many minutes to vets at the expense of the young guys and not developing the young guys.
But they are playing the young guys a lot.
I mean, Frank's minutes have been vastly. He's been a lot less minutes the last few games. Knox, a lot less minutes the last few games. He's not getting. We thought at the beginning of the year, Knox would get 25 to 30 minutes a game. What did he play tonight? 9 minutes?
Yeah, but they've been
7 minutes tonight. Against the Pelicans, he had 9 minutes. Against the Celtics, he had 26. Against the Trailblazers, he had 13. By the way, Knox's shot from 3 when he's open, it's looked pretty good. But I don't know if the percentage is there, but he looks pretty form-wise. I feel like he'll be a good 3-point shooter. But what do you think about that? We complained last year when they played the vets too much.
Yeah, but who are these? The vets that we're complaining about are 26 years old.
Yeah, I mean, well, Timmy, he signed for 2 more years. He's here. Cantor's probably off the team, but
There's nobody under 30 getting minutes. So
yeah. I
I
mean, Courtney Lee will be back very soon, but
yeah, but
Courtney,
he hasn't been playing. So you're talking about like a bunch of players who are under 30. So it's not like he's going full old man mode here.
yeah.
How young do you want him to get?
I mean, the thing with Cantor also is I don't think he should play 41 minutes a night. He played well tonight, but at the same time, if Robinson has 6 fouls in 9 minutes, you kind of have to play Cantor.
Well, yeah, and Cantor's absolutely on fire tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to. I feel like Knox and Frank, when they show they deserve minutes, they get minutes, and when they're off, they're not going to get as many minutes, and maybe that's better for development.
Yeah,
I don't know. It didn't seem like Hornacek had so much logic in what they was doing. I have some more. It comes down to I have more faith in Fizdale than Hornacek. Would that be fair to say for you as well?
that is very fair to say.
Okay. Bill also writes, why did Timmy play 36 minutes last night when he was in liability on defense and shot 2 for 15? And Frank Knox Dotson barely got any burn. I guess the 215, that was the Pelicans game?
Yeah,
Yeah, he was awful.
he was. I think it's because he is very, very streaky, and he could turn it around within the game. So he's the type of player where some players, when they're off the whole night. But Hardaway can suck for 3 quarters and then all of a sudden hit 5 straight shots.
Well, he was pretty bad the first half of tonight's game, and then he had 13 points in the third quarter. So yeah, exactly your point. He can go on fire real fast.
So I think he has a longer leash than other players because of that.
Yeah, and he's also been better than other players. Like, he's clearly been our best player the whole year. You give him a longer leash. Do you think in the future would Timmy be a guy that can come off the bench? Like, let's say you like future the roster's good enough where you're like, Timmy, you're a better role for us as a 6th man. Do you think he has the mellow issue?
I hope not. I mean, if the team is good enough where Hardaway is the 6th best man, the Knicks are going places.
Yeah, I feel like Timmy. I don't feel like he has had this like Melo started his whole career. He felt entitled. I think Timmy's only been a starter since he came back to the Knicks.
Yeah, I mean the Hawks even put him in the D League, so he's
probably a little more humble.
Yeah.
Jeffrey writes, if Timmy makes the All-Star game this year, do you see? I like how the question just changes, like from how do you even play him to if Timmy makes the All-Star game this year, do you see any potential clashes between him and KP over who the go-to guy in this team is?
I think everybody knows it's KP.
I also feel like based on like it seems like if you look at the Pelicans game, he was fine. He's shown a lot of times this year where he's fine to defer to other players also. He doesn't need he's not just like give me the rock. He's like, if Trier's hitting, there was that game where Trier was like in the fourth quarter where Timmy just handed the ball off to Trier and just said, you the ball's yours.
Yeah. He seems like he's fine letting other players take the spotlight. Yeah,
I don't think he has that quite the same. I think he wants to contribute, but I don't think there's going to be any even if he's an all-star, I don't think there'll be any issue. I feel like this is going to KP's injury in some ways is going to be the best thing to happen to the Knicks.
Maybe, yeah.
David writes, 20 games in, and we are on track for a top 5 pick. If we miss out on Zion and Barrett, Bowl, I don't know what that means. BOL.
Bow?
Is BOL like a short for something? I'm not cool enough to know. Or is there a player he's referring to?
I don't know.
I don't know. Zion looks like both those guys look like they're top 3 picks. Other guys will emerge. It'd be great to get a top 5 pick here.
Sure would.
David writes, he wrote that was a Kemba question. David also writes, looking into the future Knicks roster, 1920 season. Point guard, Kemba Walker, backup, Ntilikina. Shooting guard, Timmy, backup, Alonzo Trier. Small forward, Kawhi Leonard. Backup, Kevin Knox. Power forward, Kristaps, Vonleh, backup. Center, Bol, Mitchell Robinson.
Oh, that's
being the back.
That's Manute Bowles' son.
Manute Bol. So I don't follow college that closely. Manute Bol named his son Bol.
Yeah.
Is there ever a scenario where you fill out? I have 2 kids. I know you build the birth certificate. You put whatever you goddamn well please in that name thing. Do they ever hand it back to you and go try again? How is his name Bol?
I don't know. I don't know.
I at some point they have to step in and just go. You can't. We're just not going to allow this. By the way, is Bol 8 foot tall? How tall is the dude?
He's very tall. He's not 7'6", but he's
7'3".
He's 7'3".
I assume he's supposed to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Man, I want to know how tall Manute Bol's wife is.
I mean, for what it looks like, he's going to be better than his dad.
That'd be pretty sweet to have him.
Yeah.
But what do you think of that roster? That seems likely to happen. Kawhi and Kemba Steining here.
Yeah, totally.
Kareem writes, "Are we worried about Knox?" Good question.
A little bit.
Really?
A little.
What way? So tell me your concerns.
His play on the court.
But what about everything else that happens on the court? So his defense, a little suspect right now.
Yeah, as is his offense.
His offense, a little suspect right now. I feel like as much as we liked how he played in the summer league, he's a bit of a project also, which is what the whole scouting report on him when he came in the league was that he was going to be a bit of a project. And
yeah, I just didn't think it would be like I'm shooting 34% for the season, bit of a project.
I mean, at times his form looks really good, and at times it looks like he's jacking stuff up. At times he drives to the basket and looks like he knows what he's doing. At times he's like, I don't know what the hell he's doing. I feel like he's a guy that all the scouting report said, if you develop him properly, he could be a very good NBA player. But if you don't develop him properly, like, he's not going to be very good.
Yeah.
And that was my concern going in because I feel like the Knicks never develop anyone. But I have a lot of faith in Fizdale right now. I feel like he's going to be fine. I don't know if he'll be an all-star. Maybe he will. Who the hell knows? But I think he's actually going to be a good player. But again, like all these players, it might take a while.
Yeah, I mean, if it takes a while, it's fine. I'm just worried about it not happening.
I mean, he also he started off the year. He wasn't playing that well. He had a small. I think he had one game we played pretty well, and then got injured right afterwards. And so that kind of derailed his development a little bit. Also,
yeah,
I feel like it's way too early to get down on him. And other guys are playing. I bet by the end of the year we're pretty happy with him.
Hope so.
Maybe he'll put up like Jahlil Okafor type numbers.
Oh God.
Eric writes, we're almost done here. KP and a promising young core might not be enough to lure KD, but what about KP, Dame Lillard, and a couple nice pieces? Is Lillard a free agent? I thought he signed a big contract.
Yeah, how does that even happen?
Yeah, I thought I'm going to look up his contract right now. I was pretty sure he's getting paid a lot of money right now. Is he on like some kind of like?
Yeah, he's getting paid $30 million next year and the year after.
So why is that happening? Yeah. So how are the Knicks getting him? Is the theory that Portland's just bailing on what they have going there? Like you're Portland, you're building around these two guards. Like you're not going to give up, right?
I don't think so. And even if you do, you probably trade McCollum first.
Yeah, I mean, either it just seems like an idiotic thing to like give up on the two guards. But I guess if you're blowing it up, what would it take to get Lillard? Probably most of your own core.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, $30 million is going to be tough to even match. I mean,
so you want Enes Kanter and we have Joakim Noah's rollover contract still. You want those two? Yeah, I don't know how. You probably have to give him a ton to get him. So it doesn't seem like that one's happening.
It would be like Hardaway, Frank, Knox, and Trier or something like that.
So KD, I don't think he's coming here. What percent chance do you think he's coming here? I'm going to put it negative, as negative as you can go. I don't think there's a prayer in hell it's happening. I think we're just kidding ourselves. What do you think?
I'm going to put it a little higher. I'm thinking 10%.
That is, to me, that sounds insanely. Like, I think there's a greater percentage chance of you being our next president. You're old enough, at least, than KD coming here.
Okay.
You could run on a platform of like end the CPA.
I ran 2 years ago. I got like 2 votes.
For those of you that don't know that, Jay actually ran for president 2 years ago.
And I got published in the New York Post.
There's a New York Post article on fringe candidates. I don't know why they thought Jay was a fringe candidate, but they included Jay, and his picture is in the article as, what was your, you ran as Brink of Sanity, right?
Yeah, that's our comedy podcast. So I ran as Mr. Brink Sanity, and somehow the Post found out about it and published an article about it.
Yes, and it was funny when you looked on the official, what is it called, the official voter, whatever. I'm a moron, by the way. Your name was listed right next to Bernie Sanders because everything's alphabetical.
Yes,
Which is amazing. National voting, whatever. That was insane. But anyway, I think a better chance. So, 10% chance on KD. I'm assuming you're Clay 0% chance.
Yeah.
Or do you think higher? Okay. Kyrie, what percent chance? So things don't look hunky. Even though he said he's coming back to Boston, things aren't looking hunky dory right now. There. What do you think?
15%.
I think I would probably put higher. I'd probably put it like 5%, but I think a better chance than like KD.
Mm-hmm.
Kemba Walker.
25.
Do you think he wants to be a Knick? I mean, they keep asking me, he keeps saying no, but also it's a weird thing for him to say yes when he's on another team.
I think he's being on a terrible shot
brand, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay, what about who do you got big free agents? I guess that's it, right? There's no one else is.
We don't need to do
missing?
this every week.
What? Oh, Kawhi. What do you think? Is Kawhi coming here?
No.
0%?
Yeah.
And Jimmy Butler?
I hope it's 0.
So things working out in Philly so far?
Yeah, so far. He just hit another game winner today.
It's 2 game winners, right?
Yeah.
Paul writes, does a night like tonight make you think Cantor could be useful in the playoffs if we got him on a pay cut, of course?
I still think so. I know you don't.
Well, first off, what contract are you going to give him that he's going to accept? First of all, he's going to come in. You're re-signing him as a backup, right? Do you think he's going to be like, hey, I'm up for re-signing as a backup?
Probably not. But
and how much? You're paying him $17 million. How much is he going to accept to come back to us?
Half.
You think he accepts half to come back here? I feel
Depends
like kind of
what
like
other offers he gets. What if that's
true,
the best offer he gets?
You don't think he'll look at that and be like, I'm going to like swallow my pride and come back to this team as a backup for half the price? Like that's going to create a bad. Like it's one thing if he goes to another team and then comes in on day one as a backup. I feel like you're asking for problems signing the guy for a lot less money as a backup. It's going to be he'll get pissed off.
He might, but I mean, if you offer him 4 years, $40 million, and he doesn't get anywhere close to that from anywhere else, he takes it.
Jay, let's just say your company says we don't want you anymore, Jay, but we'll hire you back at half your salary, and you have a shittier job than you have now. Do you take it? And let's say you're just like, crap, I'm not getting any offers anywhere else. Where else? When you take it, Zach? When you take it, are you how are you feeling?
Not feeling good, but then I'm
still
thinking,
paying you.
Yeah, I think, hey, I'm making more, like $1 million times more money than the average human being, so maybe $10 million a year isn't that bad.
Yeah, I mean, fair point. So the question though, if you sign him for $10 million, that's gonna make it so you can't sign a max player.
Yeah, we've been through this though. We don't really want a max player.
I don't think anyone's coming here. So you would sign him for like $10 million a year to bring him back next year.
Yeah, I don't think that's bad.
I'm glad you're not the GM. I don't want Cantor on this team. And I understand in some ways he gets rebounds. I think he puts up a lot of empty stats. I don't think he has too many games like tonight where he's this useful. I think more times than not, he's not useful on the court. The Knicks will be better in the long. I'd rather just see Vonleh, Mitchell Robinson, and find someone else.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to come to that. I think somebody else is going to offer him probably like 12 to 13 to start on their team.
Greg Monroe thinks you're wrong. Frank writes, last question. How shocked are you by Moutier's play so far? I wanted him cut before the season started. I can't believe how he's playing. If he keeps this up, how does this affect the Knicks in free agency / drafting?
I think it's way too soon for some of those questions.
1 to 10, how shocked are you?
9.
I'm going to go 10 here. I'm completely floored. I completely agreed that we should cut him before the season started, and I thought he was complete garbage at this point. I mean, I thought he was garbage to start the year. Like,
yeah, I thought he was going to be off the roster by now. I thought he was going to be the one cut for
Trier.
Well, no, I still think Cornette is going to be cut, but I thought he was going to be next in line.
Yeah, no, I'm shocked. So he keeps this up. How's the effect? Let's say it's only been a very small sample size, but let's say he does keep this up, and he looks like as good as he looked in the last week. He looks out for the rest of the season. What happens free agency drafting wise?
I mean, I think you don't have to make drafting a point guard a priority if he looks like a playable point guard.
Right now, is drafting a full point guard a priority?
It's not a priority, but you don't think you're set. You know what I mean? Like if the spot you're drafting in, there's a good point guard there, you're going to go for it.
Yeah, I would agree.
But what if there's a good point guard and a good small forward? The decision's a lot easier to make if Moutier is playing like a starting point guard.
Right. And he's still not getting the assist numbers you want. But I feel like the flow of the offense just seems to like flow a lot better when he's out there.
Yeah.
And he's hitting tough shots. But have you looked at his numbers? I don't know how closely you've looked at his numbers recently.
No.
Do you know his shooting percentages? I mean, obviously you're not looking, right?
No.
So
I have no idea.
let me pull this up because his shooting numbers, I mean, they're ridiculous. He is currently shooting 50% from the field. I think this is before tonight. He's shooting 31% from 3. Fine, not killing it from 3, but he also was like, he was garbage. Like before, the beginning of the year when he first started playing, he wasn't hitting shots. He's been so good lately from the field. He looks like a legitimate 3-point threat right now. Not shooting 6 or 7 a game, but like when he takes a 3, I'm fine with it now because he's been making them.
He's gonna have to shoot higher than 31%.
He's shooting 50% from the field though.
Yeah, I'm just saying he's not a 3-point threat if he's shooting.
Well, my point was really that I feel like he's been hitting him a lot lately, but when he first got back, when he first was playing, he wasn't he's only played 13 games, but I feel like the first couple games he was just missing everything. Mm-hmm. So like I feel like his first couple games drags all these numbers down even.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, what did we learn today, Jay?
We learned that there's still a lot of positions up in the air, a lot of minutes up for grabs, and it should be interesting seeing how this all plays out.
I think we keep learning over and over again that our takes on stuff are horrible. We didn't even know why they signed Vonleh when he was signed. Now he looks like a guy that we want to keep.
I mean, in our defense, all these guys were outcasts from their prior teams.
I mean, all our takes on stuff. Moutier, we wanted to cut. He's looking pretty darn good. Herzonia, we both thought was a pretty solid signing.
We've been way off this season. I think we were pretty solid for the first 9 years of the show. This season, it's all come crashing down.
I mean, it's lots of unexpected things. I mean, the Trier being a solid guy that's going to get 20 minutes a night has been crazy.
Yeah.
What else we learned, Jay? We learned that this is as good as it's going to get, and we'll never have a week this much fun the rest of the year. Do you think?
I hope not. I hope we didn't peak in November, but it's possible.
I mean, it's been a while since we played a meaningful game in January.
Okay, let's end the show on the most depressing sentence I've heard all day.
Let's do the predictions for the next week, and then we're out.
Okay.
I thought I had the schedule up. We got coming up Detroit on Tuesday. We got Detroit, then Philly, and then Milwaukee this week. What are we doing here?
Win, loss.
Yeah, that seems about right. I'd be happy with that. We're in development.
Yeah.
By the way, if you want to fly to Detroit to see the Knicks play Detroit, tickets are as low as $5. If you want to play,
It's disgusting.
the Knicks are playing Detroit again. Let me find the other. So the Knicks are playing. Detroit's coming here in February. It says $33. Actually, doesn't sound that bad. But the prices for Knicks tickets are insane. It costs like $100 to see Knicks at home.
I think 33 is the cheapest tickets in New York all season.
I mean, we basically could fly to Cleveland and just see the Knicks for free in December.
Yeah,
It's $3. Tickets are $3 to go see them against Cleveland.
it's so not fair. And then if you want to see them here, it's like $46.
Yeah, before the show we were saying Milwaukee are coming here on Christmas Day. Tickets are as low as $146. They're playing Washington on Martin Luther King Day, $237.
This is why I don't go to a lot of games.
Holy crap! I mean, it's just okay. Anyway, the Lakers on March 17th, tickets as low as $200.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. nyknickspodcast@gmail.com, nyknickspodcast on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon.
Pornhub.
The New York Knicks Podcast.com is our website. You can get Knicks Podcast shirts. You can help support the show that way and leave an iTunes review.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody. It's all over. Goodbye. It's time to go. This is the end. Say goodbye. You better go away. I'm gonna leave you. It's the end. Goodbye. Goodbye. Just leave me alone. Feels so good to say goodbye. I'm sick and tired and I'm saying goodbye. Goodbye, girl. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Everybody.
How do you like this headline? Wolves relish win, downplay Wiggins 0 for 12.
Wow.